You asked, why have so many Australians adopted solar?
By 2022, 30% of homes in Australia, all the roofs in our country, have switched to solar power by installing panels since about 2012. And so we have literally doubled in the last 10 years all the solar on the roofs. This is in stark contrast to other developed countries such as the US. They only got 4% of all the roofs. But why exactly have so many Australians adopted solar? It's a combination of many factors that have led for us to become the world record holders per resident of number of solar panels. Number one, our environmental concern. Australians over the past decade have seen a record number of bushfires, droughts, flooding, and this increase in natural disasters and the overall increase in temperature have led to a loss of habitat and even threats to our very popular koala population. So the bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef, unprecedented loss of unique natural animals, especially through fires and floods. So the former federal Liberal government's leadership in that area for the last decade wasn't very high. And in some way, I would even say climate change was to some degree still denied. But the Australian population decided to act on their own, despite what the government was saying, and one of the ways to act was to get solar. And also it helped the hip pocket. The second reason why solar is so popular in Australia was the upfront government rebate. One of the major reasons for the increased adoption of solar power in Australia are the federal solar rebates that incentivise the purchasing and installing of a solar PV system. So the Australian Solar Rebate Scheme was run by the federal government since about 2008. It's seen many changes over the years, but overall still now contributes at least 25% towards the purchase of a solar system. And in the earlier years, it was as much as about 66% that the rebate gave you towards the system. And on top of the federal rebate, there are also some states like Victoria, which give you additional financial incentives. So it really makes a lot of sense to have solar. The feed-in tariff is the third reason. Other than the rebates, you will also in Australia get a feed-in tariff, and that is an additional income from solar power. And during the very early days, like around 2008, 2010, the feed-in tariffs that you were paid were between 40 and 60 cents per kilowatt hours. Now it has slowed down. It's gone down to 5 to 10 cents per kilowatt hour, but it's still an additional income that you get on top of the benefits you already get from the solar saving. Now, it is expected that with the increase of electricity wholesale prices and the growth of EV charging during the day, the value of midday electricity will actually increase again, and therefore the feed-in tariff payments will go up. So it won't be as low as 5 cents, but it also won't be as high as 60 cents. I would expect around the 10 to 12 cents is where it's kind of ending up. The fourth reason why we're so popular in solar is that we have really relatively high electricity prices, and they keep on increasing. Electricity prices have increased significantly over the past decade, and they seem to rise still every year to new levels. For example, the wholesale electricity price, which makes up about 30 to 40% of the final price, has increased by almost 100% in the last decade, and is expected to increase again by 30 to 50% in the next 2 years. And whilst owners might still rely on the electricity grid for any additional kilowatts that their system cannot produce, and these are owners' solar systems, it's through the solar system that homeowners are fighting back to reduce their cost of living pressures. Now, also cheaper panels and inverter pricing is another reason. So the International Renewable Energy Agency found in 2019 that since 2010, the cost of components has dropped by 80%. So solar panels are going down, electricity prices are going up. And these price reductions obviously contribute significantly to the attractiveness of solar, and it's mainly due to Chinese producers increasing capacity and therefore bringing prices down. Chinese production of solar panels in Australia now is about 90% of all panels. And so in some way, we actually have to say thank you to China to bring solar down. And this price reduction did also apply to racking and inverters. Now, I think we had about 5 reasons. Must be reason number 6. It's actually quite cheap in Australia to install solar. the Australian workforce in the solar industry just wants to get the job done. They carry this panel, they weigh 22 kilos, up the ladders, working hard, and there's been a willingness of the workforce to go along, make these installations not too expensive. And also, luckily, Australian roofs, they're not really steep like the European roofs. There's not times when there's ice on them. And so it's a relatively easy way to install the system, but we also got a really well-equipped and fair price-minded workforce. And because lots of roofs are either tile or metal, so it's only really two versions, again, you get economy of scale, and that has also helped to keep the installation cost at a reasonable level. And then the seventh and final reason why solar is so favourable in Australia is that the Australian sun is very, very strong, which means we get more solar and more electricity out of the system than in other places in the world. So for example, in Brisbane versus Hobart, you get 25% more electricity in Brisbane because you got more intense sun, you got longer sunlight hours. But if you compare that to a place in Germany, most places in Australia would produce about 100% more renewable electricity for the same size system. So therefore, an Australian system has very favourable return on investment numbers. And you look, in most cases in Australia, to get a system paid back in between 3 to 5 years, which is much better than many, many places in the world. So therefore, these 7 factors have come together, from cheaper pricing to environmental concerns to willing workforce and to strong sunlight, all together to bring Australia forward to become the world record holders for a number of solar systems compared to the number of homes we have in Australia. It's a great world record to have.
Want more energy answered? Visit yourenergyanswers.com for quality energy products, tools and calculators, and find your quality local installers. Please support the channel by liking the video, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell, and check out all our other videos. You're still here? I'll see you next time. Bye.